Raise your hand if you've ever had a pair of Ultraboosts. And by raise your hand, I mean leave a comment saying whether or not you've tried Ultraboost before, because I really feel like pretty much everyone has at this point, but I'm curious to see how many of What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you something a little bit different today, and that is a review of a running shoe, specifically the brand new Adidas Ultraboost 19, the fifth variation of the Ultraboost, and really the first major redesign that this very popular sneaker has seen since it first came out several years ago. Something that I get asked about a lot, especially on my Instagram where I post more sneaker related content, is what my personal favorite sneakers are. And I can honestly say that I don't have one in particular that I can call my favorite, but if there's one sneaker that I've worn more than anything else over the last 2-3 years, it's this guy right here, the original Adidas Ultraboost, first colorway. This is, for me, probably the most comfortable sneaker that I've ever owned. So when they released the new Ultraboost 19, that I have to say, I'm a really big fan of the way that they look. I was really curious to see how these were gonna feel in comparison to the original. So there are going to be a lot of, I guess, comparison elements to this particular review. I just want to go over what I think of the new Ultraboost 19 that I've been using for the last 2 weeks or so, and just give you my overall impression. So if you want to learn more about these, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around, watch the entire video. And if you are interested in a pair of these for yourself, they're available now in a couple different colorways. First link down below, go ahead and check it out. Retail is $180 US. Obviously, the focus of this channel is mostly football boots, but the odd running shoe is something that I think is kind of interesting to see. And if this is something that you perhaps would like to see more of on the channel, please support this video with a like and let me know which specific running shoe you'd like to see reviewed down below in the comments. Also, if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on future content from me, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. So the upper feature is what they're calling Prime Knit 360, which is still the same base material we've seen on previous variations of the Ultraboost, but this time around, I think they've gone for something that is arguably a little bit more sock-like in regards to the texture of the material. If you see here along the edges of the collar, it has a very sock-like look to it, and I have worn these with and without socks. I personally find it more comfortable to wear them with socks, but it does have a sock-like softness to it that if you did want to wear these barefoot, you definitely can get away with it. Something that's also important to note is that the pattern that they've gone for here has some really nice structure to it. I felt like some of the later variations of the Ultraboost, they went with different designs to the Prime Knit for the sake of looks. I felt like it was maybe a little bit too flimsy. This has just enough structure to it, but still maintains a very soft sock-like sensation. You also notice that it is a one-piece wrap around your foot, and they have kind of eliminated any of the padding that we used to have at the top portion, which isn't necessarily the greatest thing. I personally would like to see a little bit of padding right here, kind of like what we've had on previous variations, basically where the knot sits on your foot, mainly because it can lead to a little bit of pressure if you tie the shoes really tight after wearing them for several hours. It's not a big deal, but something that I did notice. Moving on to the lacing system, and I'm not sure if you've noticed the laces, but they are absolutely beautiful. More on those in just a second. But you'll notice that they changed out these, I guess, side pieces that attach the laces to this upper. They are standalone elements that are stitched on either side, so you can't really pull them away, although technically I guess you could cut it off if you really wanted to. But instead of being a plastic material like it's been in the past, it's now a very, very thin kind of polyurethane textile. There's a little bit of a mesh base there, mainly for the sake of aesthetics. It's got the debossed Adidas stripes, which I think look very cool. And you'll notice along the edges where the lace holes are, there's an extra piece of material inserted. I just think it's layered mesh or something like that. Maybe it's plastic, hard to say, but that's there to strengthen the lace holes and just to prevent any kind of lace bite when you actually tie the laces tight. And of course, you get the standard 4 lace hole positions on either side. Once you tie the laces, they are nice and secure on your feet for the sake of running. Running being the key word here. This is a running shoe, meaning that you're supposed to run in them, jog if you want to call it that, at a steady pace in a straight line. I would not recommend sprinting in these. I would not recommend trying to stop really quickly in these. If you're thinking about playing soccer or football in them, Probably not a great idea. I guess you could juggle the ball if you really wanted to, but this is made for running in a straight line at a steady pace or walking around for casual wear. Moving to the rear, you'll find a design that is familiar in comparison to past Ultraboost, but new at the same time. It has the extension piece at the front with the pull tab. It still maintains the S-curve heel, which I personally think looks really good. Then you're gonna have what they're calling a 3D heel frame, where the old Ultraboost did have a solid heel counter. You can see it right here. That's where they used to put the Ultraboost branding, but this time around it maintains the same shape, but you can see is cut out through the middle, basically hollowed out. And I just think looks really cool. It's got this kind of Tron-like design to it, but it still does maintain the Ultraboost branding here along the back. It's definitely not as solid. It's a much thinner, I guess more lightweight way of achieving the exact same thing. But from a cosmetic standpoint, I think it looks great. And realistically, once you're actually wearing the sneakers, it's not something that you really notice. So I suppose that it's doing its job. The heel is lined in a really smooth mesh material with some padding, but definitely less than what we had before. Still really good comfort and decent heel lockdown overall. The insole, fully removable, also very straightforward. Features the Boost branding, of course, a single layer of this very soft mesh as a liner, and then white foam with a little bit of texturing, where you can actually see the shape of the insole. They have significantly widened up the forefoot, which is very noticeable when you put these on, but we'll talk about that more later in the video. And then something that I really liked about the old Ultraboost is that if you remove the insole, they had this fancy kind of cutout liner sitting directly on top of the Boost. So you had the option to wear them with or without the insole. Typically, I'd wear them without the insole. On the new Ultraboost 19, you won't find that same lining on the underside of the insole. Instead, the Prime Knit 360 upper is just that. It actually lines the surface of the Boost midsole. So inside, it's black in color, kind of difficult for me to show you guys. It's the same type of material that you see on the surface of the upper, lining the underside of the insole. So you can still wear them without the insoles like you could before, but personally I found with this particular shoe it was just better to wear them with the insoles rather than without. Which brings us to arguably the most important part of this sneaker, and that is the Boost midsole, with the key feature of the Ultraboost 19 being that it features 20% more boost than what we've had on previous models. And if you look side by side with the original Ultraboost, you can definitely see that the midsole is noticeably thicker, I would say almost all the way through. Bear in mind this is a used pair, but you can definitely see, especially through the heel area, that there is just a lot more boost on this new model. Is that boost actually something that you can feel? It's really difficult to say. In my head, I'd like to think that technically it is a little bit softer underfoot, but the difference is very minimal if I'm being honest with you guys. The main thing that I notice is that these actually feel a little bit higher off the ground, despite having the same 29 to 19 millimeter drop, basically 10 millimeters from heel to forefoot, that's listed on the older variations of the Ultraboost. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I just pulled that off of Adidas's website, but technically the ride height, if you want to call it that, is supposed to be the same, even though there's 20% more boost. Either way, it feels very good and still maintains good flexibility through the forefoot. You will find that through the midfoot, it does feature a new design for what they call a torsion spring, like we saw on previous models, that basically just adds rigidity to that midfoot area. It's more of a running shoe element, if you will. And then the outsole, as you can see, is the signature Continental rubber with the kind of webbed pattern to it, meaning that it has these little splits that kind of just flexes very nicely with the Boost midsole and just gives you this very natural sensation when you're either walking or running in the sneakers. When it comes to actually running in the Ultraboost 19, again, it doesn't feel that far off previous models in my opinion, and personally, I'm not a huge fan of running shoes that are very heavily cushioned, which is the sensation that you get from this. If you like that, you're absolutely gonna love the Ultraboost 19. But if you prefer something that is maybe a little bit closer to the ground, a little bit less bouncy, if you will, maybe not the best option for you as a running shoe. But when it comes to just general comfort for casual wear and walking around, which ultimately I think is how most people end up wearing these Ultraboost sneakers anyways, you're gonna be hard pressed to find something more comfortable than these just for everyday use. When it comes to weight, in a size 10 US, the Ultraboost 19 weighs in at 11.7 ounces, which is slightly more than past variations of the Ultraboost, which shouldn't be too surprising. And I really feel like that extra weight can be attributed to the 20% more boost that they've incorporated into the midsole on this new model. Boost as a whole is not a particularly lightweight material in comparison to some of the more traditional foams that we see from other brands, so that does up the weight of the sneaker overall. There are certainly lighter runners out there, but if you're a fan of the look of the Boost and the feel of Boost, you're not going to have any issues with the weight of this sneaker whatsoever. As I'm sure you've already noticed, the laces on these particular Ultraboosts are a little bit nicer than the ones that you would normally get, and that's because they are SR4U replacement laces, specifically junior length white reflective ones. And I wear these on pretty much all of my Ultraboost sneakers, junior length mainly because the lacing system is quite short, but it just looks really cool and it changes up the style of your sneakers. Given that so many people end up having the exact same ones, they make yours that much more unique. They work on boots, they work on sneakers. If you're interested in a pair for yourself, you can get them at sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. On feet, the Ultraboost 19 is very comfortable. I think there are two main differences in comparison to the models that they replaced, and that is that they're a little bit higher off the ground and a little bit wider pretty much all the way through, both of which I don't think are negative changes at all. You could view them as positive ones, but more so, it's kind of just a slight variation of the exact same thing. They might feel a little bit weird if you're really used to the older variations of the Ultraboost, but it's something that you very quickly get used to. Underfoot cushioning is tremendous, whether you're running or just walking around. These are exceptionally comfortable. I absolutely love the way that this Primeknit 360 upper wraps your foot. And again, if comfort is what you're after, you are going to be hard pressed to find anything more comfortable than the Ultraboost 19. As far as fit is concerned, width-wise, these are a little bit wider than they used to be, but Ultraboost fit just about anybody anyways, so these will fit anybody regardless of how wide your feet are. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 10 US, which is what I wear in most sneakers, and the fit and length is pretty much perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I'd strongly recommend going true to size for the best possible fit. So in conclusion, I have to say that I think Adidas did a really good job with updating the super popular Ultraboost sneaker. That shoe we had so many different colors of and probably will continue to get a lot of colors of. It's almost a sneaker from an aesthetic standpoint I was getting a little bit sick of, but I feel like they have maintained the same formula, the same design elements on this new model, but just made it look that much more fresh. To me, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, this is the best looking Ultraboost sneaker that Adidas has ever put out. And then when it comes to comfort and overall performance, I love the way that the upper feels. I love the way that the sneaker fits in general, and opting for 20% more boost on this new model, I don't think is a bad thing either. The fact that they also maintain the same $180 retail price, I think is a very good move by Adidas as well. Not that they were cheap to begin with, but I think they easily could have charged $200 and people wouldn't have said anything at all. Either way, a solid upgrade. And I think if you were a fan of previous Ultraboost models, there's a lot to like about the new Ultraboost 19. Anyways, guys, that's it for this review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. If you're interested in a pair of these new Ultraboosts for yourself, again, it's the first link down below. Go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions or suggestions for other running shoes or trainers that you'd like to see reviewed on the channel, leave that down below in the comments and I'll take a look at everything you guys have to say. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.